Well, welcome to the Mesa City Council meeting for February 3rd, 2025. All members of our council are present with Councilmember Heredia attending by Zoom. Next, we'll have an invocation by Angela White of the Spiritual Assembly Baha'is of Mesa. Angela, if you're here, come forward. Okay, I don't see that she's here, so we'll have a moment of silence if you'll stand, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Thank you. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you, everyone. We're going to take action on the consent agenda. That's item 1. Mr. Christopher, you come and please read the consent agenda. And I have a 6A and 8A and B off the consent. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. These are the items on the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk will be considered as a group by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless a council member or a citizen request, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered as a separate item. Item 2, approval of minutes of previous meetings is written. Item 3A, act on liquor license application for the Public Grill, Beer and Wine Bar, 4815 East Main Street. Item 3B, act on liquor license application for Mekong Palace, 66 South Dobson Road. Item 3C, act on liquor license application for Dink and Dine Pickle Park, 1065 North Dobson Road. Item 3D, act on liquor license application for Cider Corp, 31 South Robeson. Item 3E, act on liquor license application for House Modern Sushi, 1641 South Stapley Drive. Item 3F, act on liquor license application for the Bread and Honey House, 144 South Mesa Drive. Item 4A, approving contract for McKellips Road Sewer Relief Project, construction manager at risk, guaranteed maximum price number 1 of 1. Item 4B, approving contract to purchase one digger derrick truck for the Fleet Services and Energy Resources Departments. Item 4C, approving 3-year term contract with 2-year renewal options for street sweeper brooms for the Fleet Services Department. Item 4D, approving purchase of 2 rollback trailers and 4 tag trailers for the Fleet Services, Transportation, Water Resources, and Parks, Recreation, and Community Facilities Departments. Item 4E, approving 1-year term contract for consumables and supplies for DNA analysis for the Mesa Police Department. Item 5A, approving resolution to extinguish a portion of an 8-foot public utilities easement located at 4159 East Flower Circle to allow for expansion of the SRP well site. Item 6A has been removed from the consent agenda. Item 6B, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-469 for property located east of the southeast corner of Recker Road and Main Street. Rezone with plan area development overlay and site plan review for a multiple residence development. Item 6C, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-818 for property located east of the northeast corner of Sossaman Road and Pecos Road. Rezone from employment opportunity to general industrial to allow outdoor storage yards. Item 6D, introduction of ordinance amending Table 1 in the Mesa City Code, Title 5, Chapter 17, to remove the water impact fee category column to confirm discontinuation of this fee. Item 7A, approving ordinance or proposed amendments to Chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 30, 31, 42, 63, and 75 of Title 11 of the Mesa City Code pertaining to general plan references. And items 8A and 8B have been removed from the consent agenda. Mayor and council members, these are the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Mayor Summers, a second by Ms. Spilsbury. If you cast your vote, please. And Councilmember Heredia, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you. Pardon? No, I didn't go through. There you go. Okay. 7-0. Thank you. All right, the next item we'll take off the consent agenda is 6A, and it's zoning case 24-00891. We have 4 items on there, and I'm going to read for the record. Christine Gade, at 2852 East Encanto and Kenneth Gate at 2852 East Encanto are opposed but do not wish to speak. All right, there's some more too. Okay, and we have 3 items for 6A, 3 individuals to speak. First, we'll hear from William Bodine, and followed by Tim Meyer. Mr. Bodine, time's yours, your name and address.
My name is William Bodine. I live at 2847 East Fountain Street. Mayor and City Council, thank you for letting me speak about this development. I hope Blandford Homes makes millions of dollars off this. I really do. It's going to increase my property value. And I hope all the money sold from the property from the church will be used for good things. We enjoy them as our neighbor. But there are some accommodations that the City Council should consider before they make decisions about this. I know this is an introduction. You'll make decisions later. But there's 3 things that you got to consider. First of all, I'd like in writing that the church will allow construction vehicles to use their south lane, parking lane and entrance lane just north of the park for all construction, for the years that it takes. Up and down those streets for several years it may take. I encourage that that be in writing and have it written down so we're aware of that. Number 2, evaluate and consider the water pressure. We already have neighbors with low water pressure, and with an additional 39 homes, and I hope they have kids, run the shower constantly, and they have lots of sprinkler systems. That's wonderful. But the rest of us are impacted. Consider bumping that up a little bit. And for me, the 3rd most important thing, there's only one way to get in and out of that new development. 39 homes, 3 cars each, potentially. That's 117 more cars going up and down Encanto Street, because that's really the only way in and out. So there's about 5 things I'd ask you to consider that would help remedy this. First of all, the traffic would be much better managed if there was an existing way or a way to exit onto Adobe. Right now, you have a water retention basin on the east side of the park. You're paying to maintain, upkeep, and repair and haul garbage that's dumped there, because I've seen it happen. And you're trimming the trees and mowing the lawn. It's a water retention basin. Blandford Homes and the church and the city, just consider putting a road there. Have they even presented it to you? I doubt that they won't even present that to you. Consider putting a street there to go to Adobe. First of all, it will reduce traffic because there's already a light on Adobe and Lindsay. Second of all, it will help reduce the congestion that's caused from students, 25 to 30 cars every day parked on the north side of the church parking lot, right next to Lindsay. Nice for Mountain View students. It's great, free parking. Thank you for the church for being good neighbors to them. We want to be good neighbors too. Third, it will reduce the congestion caused by mommies and daddies dropping off their children on the north side, which is the back side of Highland Elementary School.
Mr. Bodine, I'll give you an extra 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Well, thank you. Those are the things that I think are the most important that the City Council should consider before making a decision. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Meyer, after which we'll hear from Reese Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tim Meyer. I live at 2860 East Encanto Street. So I'll be living right on that street that will be impacted for this project. I also want to take and say that I think this project's a good project. I like to see the project go forward, but there's some considerations I hope that we will look at. I'll just reiterate what Mr. Bodine said because they're pretty much the same thing. My biggest concern, obviously, is the traffic on Encanto Street. I think there's some options that can be looked at as far as access from the development over to Adobe. And like he pointed out, there's already a light on Lindsay and Adobe. So that would be an outstanding way if we could get some of the traffic to go out that way. The construction traffic's another concern, but I talked to Mr. Lake this afternoon, and he said that the church is committed to allowing the construction traffic to go through the area of the church into their development. So again, like Mr. Bodine, it would just be nice maybe to get that in writing. But that's great that they've offered to do that, because that'll cut down a lot of the construction traffic going back and forth on Encanto Street. And then finally, the third thing, again, just to reiterate that again, because I got the same concern, is the water pressure. We were already pretty light on the water pressure last time I called the city and asked them to come out and take a look at it. I was about 45 pounds of pressure. I think the minimum was 40 is what they said. So they wouldn't do anything with that since we're within the minimum. But I'm worried again too, if we put much more if we're taxing that much more on the water system, what will the water pressure do? And again, Mr. Lake told me that they're looking at maybe running another loop from Lindsay all the way back to that area to create another loop for water pressure. So if that's the case, that's great. I'm not an engineer. I don't know how all that works. But somehow we just got to ensure and have on the record that we need to make sure we look at the water pressure and that there's something guaranteed again too, that we can keep that water pressure up. So those are really my main concerns. Again, I'd like to see the project move forward. I think it would be a good project in the back, but we've got those concerns if they can be addressed, and I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Mr. Anderson? State your name and address, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's a rare opportunity that I have to stand before you and give you my home address, which is 1005 North Alba, Mesa, Arizona 85213. And with great humility, I say that I'm probably the most affected neighbor by this project. And if you look at the site plan, my house is the only house that touches this site. And so I'm here before you because as I look through the materials you got this evening, I just noticed that what was missing was a petition of support that me and 17 of my neighbors submitted. I think it was inadvertently, but we gave this to the Planning and Zoning Board. I brought a copy here, but it is in the city's materials. And if requested, I could probably double that number. With that, I want to say that I love and respect my neighbors, Tim and Butch. These are friends of mine. And I have the same concerns, but I just reach a different conclusion at the end of the day. And I do that because I have some more intimate knowledge, if you will, just living and rubbing on this for the last 2 decades. But the point I wanted to share mostly was that I think probably you, a lot of people watching, find it poetic justice that the guy that's usually proposing projects has one next to his home. But weighing everything out, myself and many of our other neighbors are in support. And so, yes, we don't want to see the water pressure go down. I don't think it will. I've dealt with the engineering department for decades now. But those are engineering issues that need to be resolved. Traffic, et cetera, I'll leave that up to Sean Lake, who represents them. Again, since the beginning, there's been an ethical wall in our office. I'm not involved in city conversations or anything on this project. I work directly and talk with Pat Adler at Blandford Homes. So I just want to stand and say that myself and many of our other neighbors are supportive. But for questions about resolution on the project, would you please talk to Sean? Yeah. That's all I have, Mayor. Did I stay within the 3 minutes?
You have 1 minute and 12 seconds left.
I'm going to sit down and be quiet. Unless there's questions I can ask.
I think we're good.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry to waste your time this evening, but thanks for letting me share.
No, you didn't. I don't know if the applicant wants to speak. So the concern is access, water pressure, and the park. I think we can visit on the park, Mr. Brady.
Yeah, let Sean
This had
go
Sean
first, and then
finish
I have
Mr.
some
Lake.
comments. Yes, go ahead.
Mayor, Councilmember Sean Lake here on behalf of Blandford Homes. Excited about this project. We've met with the city on the water pressure issue and are comfortable with that, and the city departments can speak to that. As far as the access issue through the water station or campus south of the site out to Odobe, we'd love to meet with the city between now and when this is final heard on the 24th. So if we could have assistance meeting with whomever we need to talk about that possibility of the city allowing that to happen, that would be grateful. So with that, we'll follow up and get back with you on the 24th.
All right, thank you. Well, this is comments from Mr. Brady.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, I think one of the things, let's remember what this is. This is an infill project, right? This is a classic infill project in the city of Mesa that we're trying to make work. And so when we have an infill project, we really do try to be a little more creative to the customization of the site. And obviously, this site has some unique challenges with the canal on its eastern edge. And just kind of tucked into the back side of the church's property. So I think what we're trying to do is make a way so that the church has an opportunity to develop this property in the back and treat it as an infill project. 39 homes just really isn't a significant development. It really fits that definition of a small infill development for us. So I think while we'll be checking the water pressure, we're not concerned that 39 homes is going to have a significant impact on that, but we are obviously committed to maintaining the pressure within the ranges that we expect throughout the city. So our commitment is we'll continue to gauge that as this development comes online. And if for some reason, unforeseen reason, that these 39 homes drops that to unacceptable levels, we'll find a way to remedy that. But right now, our engineers are not concerned regarding that. As far as access for the construction vehicles, that's obviously between the church has to give that authorization and encouragement. I think that makes a lot of sense. As far as the access, frankly, the fire marshal has looked at this site and is comfortable with the current access as it's being proposed. It does have an emergency access coming off the southwest corner through the drive aisle for the church. We think that's more than sufficient for what is needed, again, for 39 homes. Building a road through the city park where we already have parking limited and people, cars backing into that street, I think it's not a short-term solution, right? I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's not something we can just say, oh, sure, let's just do that. Who's paying for the road? How do we reconfigure the parking that supports Mountain View Park? So I think that's just something, it's a long-term option, but I think what might be kind of said is that for 39 homes, I don't know that this investment of that length of a road and covering up a drainage facility, it would be difficult to justify that with all the other priorities of infrastructure throughout the city. And I don't know if the developer is willing to bear that cost. But again, the city would have to convey property and easements. And again, it's just not, I'm not saying it can't be done. It's not a solution that can be done in a very short period of time. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Adams?
Thank you, Mayor. Would the applicant entertain a question? Mr. Lake, thank you. You said you're comfortable with the water pressure situation. Can you elaborate on that? What is comfortable?
The City of Mesa Water Department told us that they're comfortable with it. So
Okay.
I'm not smart enough to
Nor am I.
understand water pressure.
Okay.
And so I defer to the city officials that are experts on it, and they're not concerned that it will have impact upon it, upon the project.
Thank you. I didn't know if you had any additional information on that. I'm supportive of the project. I think we've heard three speakers who are supportive of the project generally. And I think it's a difficult piece of property. I am, however, very sympathetic to the concerns I've heard here tonight. And I'm assuming that you'll be willing and available to sit down and reason through that, because I'd like to see
Absolutely.
where that conversation goes. So
Absolutely.
good, thank you. But I am sympathetic to those concerns. It's I understand that we have various standards and traffic flows and whatnot, but I don't live on Encanto, and if I did, I probably would feel somewhat concerned about it for the reasons I heard. So, thank
Mayor,
you.
Councilmember Adams, as it's been said before, let us get together and reason together.
Thank you.
On a solution to this.
I've heard that somewhere. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Mr. Lake, just so you know, the park access actually goes into the church property, not the development itself. And so I think that's the conundrum here, because the church would have to grant this and allow ingress and egress out of the subdivision to go south through Mountain
Through the
View Park.
parking lot to get over to the park.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the best option, but I think that's something that you can
We'll
work
work
with
on-
staff.
we'll talk with staff.
And see if Mr. Blandford wants to convey that cost, because there's a cost to that as well. But I understand that. And then someone mentioned to me, if homes were built on the south side of Encanto, all the way from Lindsay to Mr. Anderson's home on Alba, then those would be, 22 homes or something like that? Something like that. Same as on the north side of Encanto.
Mayor, council members, as we have always tried to do in the city of Mesa, connected neighborhoods are better neighborhoods. And these are public, Encanto's a public street, and there's curb cuts that have always envisioned that there would be connectivity between this property and that property. I mean, I used to live in that subdivision. I built a home 35 years ago, 30 years ago. Not that long. But
Don't date yourself.
many years ago, I built a home in that subdivision, and I lived there for 10 years. So I get it. It's always been envisioned that when this property develops or something happens, that there would be cross-access even before the church. And so I get it. If their homes were along Encanto facing the homes across the street, you'd have about 21, 22 homes. So we're talking 22 homes versus 39 homes. Not a significant difference. We certainly can work with the neighbors. We can talk with the city about going through that water campus, but I'm not sure that moves the dial much, if you will.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Heredia, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Thank you. Anything else, council? Well, hearing nothing, we'll entertain a motion for 6A. Motion by Ms. Spilsbury. I need a second. Mr. Summers, please vote.
Mayor, question on the vote.
Pardon?
This is to simply move it forward on the agenda?
Yes, this is an introduction of zoning case 24-00891.
That was a new guy question.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Heredia. Okay, motion passes. All in favor? There's nobody abstaining or against it. Okay, we're going to move over to 8A and B. I have two people who wish to speak. We'll start with Mr. Sandler, Norm Sandler, if you want to come forward, please. So just to refresh, this is the annexation of 30-plus acres, annexation 23-01004, along with the zoning case 23-01003, named Carmelo by Blandford Homes. Mr. Sandler, the time is yours. You have 3 minutes.
I'll try and get through this. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Want to thank the feedback that I got from the last time being here and didn't really want to be a pest, but I did want to kind of review a little bit. You know, we've got two items, 8A and 8B, and really it's 8A that's most important, because if 8A is not passed, then 8B is really moot. 8A being the annexation of the land into the city of Mesa. So that's really what we're talking about is 8A. So I understand, I mean, I get it. I've been in business a long time. You know, Mesa the schools are running out of money. They've lost rental tax revenue to tune of $36 million. So now you've got to go ahead and generate more money. So, you know, one of the ways to do that is to raise utilities. But, you know, there are unintended consequences that happen with these things too. So just recently, there's another data center that's going to be built. These centers, these data centers are huge resource consumers. SRP is raising their rates. I'm talking with them. I don't know whether you realize this or not, but SRP, under the cover, the guise of sustainability, is closing their fossil fuel plants. Now, fossil fuels really is just stored solar energy, and they're going to be getting electrons from solar farms over in New Mexico. The amount of land required for those solar farms is 2.5 times the entire size of the 35 state parks in the state of Arizona. So think about that. 2.5 times all of the land and the 35 state parks in Arizona. What is that? Why do you bring that up? Well, because those electrons had to make their way from New Mexico into Arizona over to California. They're going to be a part of the grid. Electrons don't know who's generated, they just go someplace. So when you've got really, really high users like this, and they could be SRP customers, and those electrons are coming, and you know how they're going to get there? Through SunZia transmission lines. And I don't know if you're familiar with these, but these are going through New Mexico, through Arizona, through sacred Native American lands, okay? So we have an invocation every night about the sacred American lands. This will not change for generations. this view, these are all going to be ruined. So it's the unintended consequences that happen of the little things. So I realize that's a little bit off base, but what I'm really trying to say is that, Mother Nature could use your support. So a no vote on 8A is a yes vote for Mother Nature, and that's what I'm asking for tonight. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Sadler.
welcome.
Alex, you're up next. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, Alex Ranachich, Los Andes. I'm in District 5, and ever since we moved, or I should say escaped California to move to Mesa, we hear these buzzwords of not enough housing, we have a shortage, and we have a water problem. The water problem, okay, so I'm sincerely asking here because this is a very confusing topic. If there's a water problem, but we're building more for more people, for more data centers, for more of everything. So either there is a water problem and we're just saying, well, we'll deal with it later when we don't have any water, or there is a water problem and the answer is, well, you can stop building if there is a water problem. But let me put it this way. Or if I just pay more for water, there isn't a water problem. And so it's very confusing with water and construction and building and expanding. Either there is a water problem or there isn't a water problem. What's the balance? I'm in District 5. This is going to be creating more traffic. I feel sorry for the people that are living across from this development. I understand development and growth and all that has to happen, but that's really a sincere question is there a water, I know this is dear to your heart because that's what was written in the first article when you became mayor, or is there not a water problem as long as we pay more for water? That's really the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Ms. Mosley, do you have any additional blue cards on this item?
And no other cards, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Any council member wish to speak? Ms. Goforth, you want to speak at all, or do you want to call up the applicant first?
Sure.
The applicant, would you come forward, please?
Mayor, council members, I'll defer to the city on the water question, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't know that unless you would like me to go through my presentation.
Well, I think some of the question was about traffic on McDowell, and maybe Ms. Goforth could answer that as well as yourself.
Okay.
But any other concerns about Carmelo?
No, sir. As far as the traffic, we are working, the McDowell and Haas Road are within the jurisdiction of Maricopa County, and we will be doing improvements to both McDowell and Haas Road through permitting of Maricopa County. So there will be improvements to both of those streets. We'll also be working with the county on improvements to the streets on the south and the east as well. So to help alleviate, we have worked with the City of Mesa Transportation Department, and the capacity of McDowell Road is about half right now of what it could handle. So with the improvements that we have, with the small amount of homes that we'll be developing, there will be more than enough capacity on the adjacent runways to handle this development.
Okay. I don't have any. Ms. Goforth? You're good?
I don't have any questions for Mr. Lake, no.
Okay.
If anybody else.
Okay, thank you. Well, if it's okay with the council, I'll entertain a motion for both items 8A and 8B, and we'll move forward with that.
Oh, I guess I will make just a comment. I mean, I don't have any response to Mr. Lake or anything, but I know that for those of you who do live in the county, as I stated when this came up for introduction a few weeks ago, it is frustrating when the city starts encroaching and getting closer to your properties. This proposed development is in line with what the City of Mesa has allowed. It's allowed under the general plan. It's allowed under the zoning district, excuse me. And it's consistent with the other City of Mesa developments. Again, I understand that differs from you in the county and what you have, and the density that you have. And I certainly am very sympathetic to not drastically changing the character of an area. This parcel is relatively small when you look at the desert uplands and when you look at the other City of Mesa developments in the desert uplands and in the area. When you look at that as a whole, this does not drastically change. It doesn't move the needle as far as density. I think I mentioned the last time, it stays pretty much in about a 1.5 dwelling units an acre density. So it doesn't drastically, that doesn't take away from the fact that I understand it directly affects you and that your large parcel that you live on. I do understand. But it is consistent with the zoning ordinance, and it's consistent with previous developments. And so therefore, I do support it. It's a balancing act, of course, with all those. I love the saying, there's no solutions, there's only trade-offs. And I think in this case, that's absolutely true. We do have competing interests here when it comes to not drastically changing the character of an area, not exacerbating our housing issues by limiting supply. I think as one speaker, if we limit it, whether it's from water or what else, we get closer to that place that you left and tried to get out of. And then we, of course, have property rights and that we have to honor and preserve. So with those three competing interests, there are trade-offs to those decisions. But that's what I looked at and I will be supporting. So.
All right. Thank you, Council Member. Mr. Adams?
Well, there we are. I almost hesitate to ask this question of my colleague, Councilmember Goforth, but there was a rather robust discussion about street lighting along Hawes Road the last time this came up. And my question is, are you now satisfied with where that issue lies?
I am fairly satisfied. I just had a discussion with City Attorney Jim Smith about, as it stands now, there is a city ordinance that does not allow us to exempt this area from streetlights. But we are going to be looking into that study that was done and see if it makes sense to extend the area where streetlights are not required over the next year. And we're at the same time work with the applicant in not requiring the infrastructure and the streetlights to go up until that study is done. Because I think it was pretty apparent from this council that we agreed that in that area, the streetlights are not necessary. And I think that the residents would appreciate that as well. So I know the line for the study was drawn at McDowell, but we need to look and see, and that's what we're going to be doing over the next year, looking to see if that line needs to be moved. And there needs to be a compelling reason in my mind why it doesn't, because you had a majority of the council up here that said the line does need to be moved. So.
Good, thank you. I'm showing my ignorance there. I didn't realize that conversation had gone on, and I was supportive of the position that we probably didn't need those streetlights there. So I'm happy to hear that there's some progress being made there. So I would echo your comments about, this is a balancing act. The owner of the property certainly has rights in how it's used. And, every place where every one of us lives used to be a piece of barren dirt that someone probably felt they would like to see it stay that way. So it's not easy. But I'm supportive of the case and happy to hear that the street lighting issue thing has been resolved for the time being. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Spilsbury, a second by Mr. Summers. Please vote. Mr. Heredia?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, we're going to move forward to item 9, which is items from citizen present. I have one card. Alex, you're up again.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Ideas have consequences and bad ideas have victims. 2 weeks ago, I was here asking you to reconsider the City of Mesa's DEI policy. And I want to thank Council Member Goforth. Her coordinator did reach out and we corresponded. I'm just waiting for a response to the questions I had. Since then, DEI has been a very big topic in the nation. The federal government has now canceled 104 DEI contracts totaling over $1 billion. The city of Queen Creek has gotten rid of their DEI policy. The city of Scottsdale is about to get rid of their DEI policy. Companies like Target, Walmart, Meta, McDonald's, Ford, John Deere, Lowe's, Harley-Davidson, Jack Daniels, Molson, Toyota, Boeing, and Nissan have all backed away from their DEI policies. Currently, there are more than 100 anti-DEI cases throughout the country. 37 of these cases are targeted programs. 23 of these cases are workplace discrimination. There are already protections against discrimination on the basis of race, creed, gender, age, sexual orientation. You don't need extra, but by keeping DEI in place, the City of Mesa makes itself vulnerable to lawsuits on the basis of discrimination in programs. Ideas have consequences and bad ideas have victims. I ask you again, please consider removing City of Mesa's DEI policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Ms. Mosley, do we have any other blue cards to speak on this item?
No other requests, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that, I just want you to know we can't respond to the comments on item 9 from citizen presence, but we hear you, and I'm sure the council members will all, and the mayor's office will respond appropriately. With that, this is all the items we have for this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Mr. Summers, Ms. Spilsbury, thank you. All in favor say aye. 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 Mr. Redia?
I think you said aye.
Aye.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Motion passes. We're adjourned. Have a great evening.